Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Drag Racing Live. This week, we welcome legendary hot rod and drag racing artist Kenny Youngblood, whose work has defined the look of American racing culture for decades. From classic nitro cars to modern nostalgia builds, Kenny shares how racing history is preserved through art and why it still matters today. Kenny Youngblood, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Got to apologize to the viewers for being running late here. It's because I'm pretty archaic here. I don't know how to do this modern digital stuff. So my fault. I apologize, but thanks for hanging in there.
Not a problem. Tomorrow, nobody's even going to know about it. We're going to cut all that stuff out of the beginning. But and you don't want to put an art. You don't want to put a set of markers or a paintbrush in my hand. It is going to be, I can barely do this stuff. But Kenny, thanks so much for joining in. I know folks who were looking for Vito Macholo was not able to make it tonight, so Kenny generously jumped in, and really looking forward to talking to you tonight. Um, You've been part of drag racing culture for decades. When you look at today's racing scene, there's raps and stuff, but what visually stands out to you compared to earlier eras?
Not much. Um, Now the wraps are the most efficient way to put the graphics on race cars, because you can, unlimited possibilities of what you can create that would be difficult, if not impossible, to do otherwise, and relatively inexpensive. And the best part, those cars are they can be terminal and not last very long. So you can just rewrap it and not have to spend days doing it by hand. So that's the upside. The downside, kind of my pet peeve, is that just because you know how to run a Macintosh and learn Photoshop doesn't make you a designer or an artist. And so, unfortunately, most of the cars, even the big show cars and top names, and I won't mention them, but they the graphics, I look at them like I'm the Joan Rivers on the red carpet, and I look at the graphics. I'm an artist, and a few once in a while are really good. A lot of them might be close, but there'll be some little thing I'll look at and I think, man, if they just would change that angle to that radius, or they could have done this, and it would have been really good. But they don't ask me anymore.
Do you think they actually, I know they do a lot of stuff where they're looking on TV and they measure the amount of time that they're on the TV and stuff for advertising. I wonder if they actually look at the angles from that and the art from that perspective as well.
You talking about the racer looking at it, or the team looking at it, or
Yeah, I mean, if you saw, so if you're a couple of different angles where you see these cars, you either see them at the track from afar or up close. But a lot of times what folks see is some weird angle where someone's taking a TV camera and kind of scanning back and forth over it. And I wonder if people are actually, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. I wonder if some of those folks with the computer graphics are making it more efficient or best look for that angle, the TV angle, than the folks who are actually looking at the car in its entirety.
yeah, I don't think they are. I don't think they're looking at it from any angle the right way. But uh, that I don't know. But again, they could be much nicer than they are, and the uh, the guys that are really good with the computer design um, normally get paid a lot of money. They work for Disney or Pixar or something like that.
Mhm.
And so a lot of racers, we get the Joe sign shop designer up the street, and the it just doesn't come out looking real good. But so that's the hand done paint jobs and graphics from the old days were beautiful compared to what we have now. And back then, especially, in fact, coming up down at the Lions Automobilia here, I believe March 14th, they're going to have an art show down there, and we've been invited to discuss the history of graphics in race car design. And of course, the first thing is to understand the value of the graphics on a car. Um, they don't make it go any faster. They just can make it look better, look sharper, certainly get a message across or present a sponsor. And but other than that, it has no practical, doesn't make that car go any faster. And I liken it to automotive design in general, in that all cars, every car on the road, they pretty much all do the same thing. Um, the big difference is how they look. And I used to imagine, gee, what if in fact, I used to sketch up a car as if it were just a flat-sided box with wheels on it, thinking, gee, I would do the same thing that a regular car does. Well, Elon Musk came along and did that with the truck, the electric trucks that he's built. They're just basically pretty boxy, just an angular box. And yet that truck, uh, that Tesla truck, it does everything that a Dodge Ram or a Chevy Silverado or a Ford F-150 can do. It's got air conditioning, it can haul stuff, it does everything the same. It just looks different. And so looks play such an important part. Imagine if all cars on the road look like that Tesla truck.
Hmm.
That'd be pretty horrifying. It would be pretty boring for sure. And so people, so often we buy a car because of the way it looks, and so style is such an important part. And yet it really doesn't add one performance increase to that vehicle. And the same is true with graphics on race cars. Imagine, Bill, if you went out to the drag strip and every car out there was gray primered. Um, they're all going to run the same,
Hmm.
but it would be pretty boring. I call the graphics visual excitement. You're looking at mechanical excitement with those cars and the dramatic excitement, the speed and everything, but visually, they're visually exciting, entertaining. And so that plays a huge role. And back in the 50s, the cars were a lot of them just primer, and the driver might get out this brush and some poster paint or something and paint a number on the side, and that was about it. And then once in a while, we'd maybe see some scallops or flames, but not much until the 60s. And then some painters came along that were really talented and started putting some really exotic and beautiful paint jobs on these cars. And actually, kind of, I never really heard him talk about it, but I think we were all kind of competing to do something better. And you had guys like Bill Carter and especially George Cerny Jr. and sign painter Tom Kelly, and they were two of the best. And they would paint those slingshot dragsters with the beautiful paint jobs and the tape shades and the candy colors. And I worked with George back then, and they were very proud of what they were doing and making those cars beautiful with the candy colors and really creating works of art on these cars. And then the funny cars came along with even a larger canvas where they could do the same thing but on a bigger format. And cars like Nat Quick did some beautiful cars, the King Camaro,
Right.
and then Don Kirby, Brasket and Bergen, and just so many of the cars that were graphically really works of art. And we did our best to make them look nice. And that's a lot of that's kind of been lost now to corporate America, along with the names on the cars, which
Right.
added to it.
Well, back then, and thank you that because that's a great recap of that era, and I certainly enjoyed every second of it. But back then, there was a value in a way because those cars did have those names, and when they were out there booking match races, when you wanted to see the Blue Max or the King Camaro, or no matter what you want, the Ram Chargers, all very simple but iconic, red and white, you knew who that car was, or you could read it very clearly, and it sort of helped you book the cars, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, that's one thing that they could still do today. I mean, I know you need to have that sponsor on there real big, but there could be a place on that car for a name, and that added a lot to it, along with the way they ran. Put on a show when I had the Fuel Cube magazine. I interviewed Don Perdome one time and asked him about what he thought about the modern nostalgia funny cars. And the first thing out of his mouth, he says, "Oh man, they need to be doing dry hops." And because back in the day, younger viewers weren't around, but back in the day, there was no rules as to how many, how far burnouts that you could do. And standard procedure in the 70s was the funny cars would do two burnouts. They would do a long smoky burnout, and they back up and do dry hops up to the line, pour down some more juice, and do a dry burnout and back up, and then dry hop up to the line. So these cars were going back and forth doing these two burnouts and the dry hops, and it just it added to the show because they're doing this dance before they get up and stage those cars. And they, I'm sure the crew chiefs would say, "Oh, we can't do that, anymore." But that was part of what made it great, and the names on the cars. And of course, the nostalgia funny cars are close to the good old days we're going to get, and quite a few of those still run a name, on the side, and that's cool.
They're awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Kenny Youngblood, talking about custom paint, hot rods, and the great old eras. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel to get more cool stuff like Kenny's laying down. And then right here about 8:30, we're going to go to Q&A, and John is capturing all your chats and all your questions, and we'll run those by Mr. Blood.
I
So
love questions.
Kenny, I sort of want to ask you this question. Is there sort of a, when you're looking, I fashion myself as someone who appreciates good art. I can't do it. I'm, not even anywhere close, but above average. When lettering is too big, when lettering is small, when a paint scheme works or sort of doesn't. Is there a sort of a Fibonacci sequence there, in the percentages of what you do for lettering and art and how it folds to the body of a car? Is there any sort of math involved there? Or is it completely just at the artist's discretion?
That was too big a word for me, Bill.
It's it's an old word. Basically, any percentages of height of letters relative to the size of the canvas,
Well,
things like
that's a great question. Um, the principles of art, perspective, composition, balance, color, shading, perspective, um, they're the same whether you're painting a flower pot or doing graphics on a funny car. And so everything comes into play there: the size, the colors, the shapes, and that all comes into play. And it's really up to the designer's eye or the painter's eye. I was blessed to with a ton of talent came to my parents, and I've always had a pretty good eye for what looks good. And so yeah, it's just I would tell clients who would pay me top dollar to design graphics for them, and I'd ask them, well, who's going to paint the car? And they sometimes say, well, my brother-in-law's knows a guy who knows a guy who's got a spray booth and a paint, and I would tell him that, you're spending top money here for my end of it, and it's only going to come out as good as the guy who's laying it out and painting it. But yeah, those all things all play a huge part, and again, that's just comes from the eye of the designer.
So great. Well, let's talk about your impact on the sport, which has been huge. I've known about you since, I got into the sport. You're not that much older than me, but you were doing it when I was in my teens, and you were already well established, and everybody knew who Blood was. But your artwork's been almost archival for drag racing history. Do you see yourself more as an artist, a historian, or a storyteller at this point?
Man, that's a good question. I think I know I'm kind of a combination of all three. Uh, Harry Hibler called me a historian, and that just means you're old and been around a long time, know a lot of stuff. But I would say it's a combination of those three. So I sure love to tell stories. Got a lot of those, and also know a lot of the racing history from the late '50s on
Right,
up, and then the artwork sure comes in there. That's why I would love going down and hanging out with the late Steve Condit, who was the last remaining of the Condit brothers.
right.
And we would just love to sit around the kitchen table and bring up names from the past. And do you remember this guy? You remember that guy? And tell stories. Because there's just that's the best part of racing. You know, we all get drawn into it, Bill, because of the machines. When we're kids, we
Mhm.
see these fantastic, funny cars and dragsters and bitchin' looking cars. But once we get involved in the sport, then we meet the people, and that's even the best part. To like, we're wife and I are getting ready to go to the March meet here coming up, and uh, we love the racing, but the best part is seeing our racing family when we
Right.
get there.
That's it. It's where it gets down to, right? I mean, and when I came in, it was all about the cars. I didn't even go to the races. I saw the sport through the mags in the drugstore that I couldn't even afford. They were maybe a buck or 75 cents at the time. But I fell in love with the colors. Of course, that was your work being reflected to the work of Steve Reyes and guys like that. Cat, Gillespie and Jim Kelly, everybody and that visual excitement got me. And then I built a couple of models, and then started going to the drags. But then eventually, and certainly to this day, it's all about the people. Still go, I get to announce funny cars every year, at least once a year, and I just can't wait to get to the pits to see my family, as you mentioned. So it's
Yeah,
really a bitchin' sport.
yeah, exactly.
Well, a lot of people don't realize so you raced a lot, or at least you owned cars. You've done a bunch of stuff, and you worked with everything from hot rods to nitro cars. But is there a type of car that still excites you the most when you sit down to draw?
That would have to be the same thing I was drawing on the kitchen table in 1960 when my mom came by and said, "Someday you're going to get paid for doing that." And that was slingshot fuel dragsters. I just love the slingshots.
They are
Um,
amazing. But they're a bigger challenge, right, for an artist because there's so much less of a canvas. You have
yeah,
to
that's for sure there.
That's amazing, amazing stuff. Well, let's see for
Yep.
any artists or creators that are listening, and let's look at the next generation here. What's the single most important skill they should develop if they want their work to stand the test of time?
Oh man. Well, again, that's we're just learning the principles of art, and we all learn from others. We all copy others' work, and so learn from the guys out there that are doing it and that you like. And you know, years ago, David Peters would contact me when he was a young man, and he was building models back then for Ravel and but he wanted to do graphic designs, and he'd say, "Well, I want to do this. I'll show you my drawings. They're not very good." And he showed me, and they in fact were very good. I could tell he had a lot of talent, and so I would just give him a few pointers. Say, "Well, you need to do this, or you have too many elements. You need to simplify it, but whatever it was." And he just caught on to everything that I would share with him and do it. And bam, his work really took off. Which brings me to the artistic process, Bill, is the creative process is the process of fixing what's wrong. When an artist starts on a painting, that canvas is blank. When that funny car is in primer, everything's wrong. There's nothing
Mhm.
there. And so you start building that painting. You start drawing it out or painting or laying out that paint job, and and you get a line on there, and then you see, well, that line, it should be thin up or it should be too far backwards this and doesn't look right, and so you move that. Or if you're doing a painting and you see something is a little too dark or not the right color, and so you fix that, and then um, and so it's just a process of fixing what's wrong, and which means that the artist is always looking at their work critically. If you didn't, you'd never get any better. And so we all look at our work critically. I look at my own work critically. I see the parts that I could have made better or changed. And if we didn't, we'd never get any better. The problem is that many young people and artists, they get it out of perspective. In other words, that like they'll say, well, my work's not very good, and I'll look at it, I can see that it is. The question is that, okay, there's always going to be somebody better than you. I see artists work that is stuff that's way more incredible than what I could do, but then there's a whole bunch of people that your work is better than theirs, and so that doesn't matter what's better, as long as you're fixing what's wrong and you look at your work critically. And it's a good thing that you look at it and say it's not very good, because if you thought it was very good, then you're done. You wouldn't go any farther.
Hmm.
But if you're looking at it critically, then you can fix that. And so I tell young people to keep it in perspective. Okay, yeah, it's not as good as this guy, but it's a lot better than this over here. And just keep plugging away and keep fixing what's wrong. And because we learn every piece that we do, we learn we get a little bit better. And whether you're writing a song or painting a painting or designing a paint scheme, and so it's good to look critically at your own work.
I love that. And it applies to life, right? Because we never stop
Exactly,
growing. You don't want to
exactly.
stop growing.
Yes. If we want to, yeah, which brings in my other passion, my counseling ministry. But we, to if we want to be a better human being, it's imperative that we have to look at what we're doing wrong, which is can be very painful. But
Mhm.
it's mandatory. If we don't look at what we're doing wrong, we're never going to be free from that thing. So yeah, it applies in everything.
Awesome. Well,
That's my sermon for today.
we'll take it, sir. Let's go to John and the chat bleachers, named so by Dina Parisi, the world champ. I love that name. John, who's out there and what's their comments and questions for Kenny Youngblood? And of course, I want to hear from you as well as our resident artist.
And we're here from coast to coast tonight, and we're just having a great time listening to Kenny. And you're giving us a great interview here. We have some questions for Kenny. Ford Purley asked Kenny, what were some of your favorite paint jobs and graphic designs from back in the early days?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot, and different ones for different reasons. And I was thinking about one that I did that I rarely mention, and that was Lori John's Top Fuel car. And when Lori asked me to design a paint scheme for it, the good Lord above gave me that image in my mind, which happens uh, a lot of times. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes my mind will be a blank, and I'll just sit down with a pencil and start sketching different ideas and develop things. But like in the case of Lori's car, I pictured that car exactly as it was painted with the red frame, the black and red, the gold stripes on it and everything. And just an image in my head. All I had to do was sit down and put it on paper, and it was done. And she loved it, and it's one of the best that I ever did as far as just a classy looking paint job. But we did Corey Mack's Mac Attack Top Fuel car, which believe it or not was I believe the first use of checkered flag theme
Hmm.
off the back of the car. And you know, not a big deal now, but somebody had to do it. And so we
And
did it on that car.
the ripped, sort of ripped the, I don't know what you call it, the ripped the skin away to show the checks on the bottom, right? Was that the initial
Yeah,
time that was done as well?
that, that one didn't do that. It just was a blend from lighter on the nose, darker, and then it went into the checkers off the back, large checkers, and they're angled back. And
Mhm.
when you do something good, and I think Billy Bronker was working with Corey on the car at that time, and I was real excited and showed him the drawing. And you also know when you do something good by how wide it's imitated. And to this day, you go out on the lake and you'll see some boats with the checkered paint schemes on them and whatnot.
Mhm.
So, as I say, imitation is the sincerest form of thievery. But
I'm sure I saw one of the imitations out there afterwards.
yeah, but just a lot of them for different reasons. Certainly, the Snake's Army car was a very successful paint scheme for being a powerful scheme with that corporate Army, message on it. But then other cars, because they were guys that would want their cars to get best appearing and want beautiful cars. Al Segrini's Black Magic certainly was right
Mhm.
up on top of that list, among others. But so for different reasons, different cars.
Can I do a sub question there? So a good, and Sagrini's car, gorgeous as well. But the snake's lettering, that black lettering on that army car where with his name is just amazing. And to me, the best lettering I've ever seen on a drag car. It would fit the package perfectly. Where did that idea come up from?
Oh, just I think God above. The Army program was developed between Don Pernome and Bob Cashler, who was marketing genius behind that. And this is in the 70s there, or mid 70s. The word marketing hadn't been invented yet, Bill. It was just the guy that got people sponsors. And Bob was really a genius on it. He was my mentor and asked me to work on that Army. And so that's another one that just kind of came real easy to me, had it in my head and put it down. And even Don a while back, and Don's not real big on handing out compliments, but he says, "Yeah, that's that Army paint scheme was badass."
Yeah.
And
And it
so,
lives on through, I mean, sort of through one of Cap's recent cars. And I think Ron's probably one of the guys who's does pull some of the old design elements into some of his sponsorships, but that army tribute car was very cool.
yeah, they did. He also did a Hot Wheels tribute car,
Hmm.
any Army car. Now, there again, I wish it came out nice, and I was honored that it's my scheme and it was good enough to be. But I wish Ron would have called me because there's a couple little things on that layout that I think we could have made better, but we're just burned out over the hill, has been sign painter.
Uh, well, let's go to the team there, and then they can pull us forward there. John, who else we got out there? Whoops, I think we got you on mute, sir. There you are.
Right.
Yep, you're good now.
Uh, Rich Panicaro had a question you the answer, and he would know did the pay Telstar change your funny car?
Oh, hey, so I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't hearing you, but it seems to be the mic. So we only got about half of that, John. Can you say that again?
Oh, okay. Am I coming okay?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Rich Panicaro asked if Kenny did the paint job Hell Challenger.
Man, we can't hear you, buddy. We just lost you halfway
Yeah,
through.
well, yeah, I did the last incarnation of the Telstar for Doc Halliday, and that was another design that I was really pleased with and really looked nice design on that car, and it was executed well. I don't recall who painted it, but that's another one that's right up there. But there's so many, some of the Miller Brewing Cars, who did for Ed McCulloch and Larry Miner,
Mhm.
and just a lot of them. It's always great working with Raymond Beadle because he wanted his cars to look really nice. And guys like the Castronova brothers, Custom Body Enterprises,
Right.
guys that winning best appearing car meant as much to them as winning a race. And that's always most rewarding customer to work with.
Yeah, they were tough on both ends. They were, beautiful and fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, John, let's give it a try. Let's see how we do.
Ford Purley had a comment. He said that the night pictures of with paint jobs, nothing can compare.
Right. The photos of paint jobs from the 70s, is that what you're saying?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And Riello said Kenny designs full photos, but my personal favorite is a design on a car that I never saw in person, and that car is the Black Mega.
The Black Magic? Yeah,
Black
sorry.
Magic.
Yeah, we're missing about half of your words, John. But I think that we talked about the Black Magic. It was beautiful for sure.
Yeah.
Award winning.
I'm gonna have to change locations here, get my phone plugged in.
All right, we got this.
Oops.
John, who
Sorry,
else do we have out there while we're
my audio across.
Hold on a second here.
No, John, we're missing the sad part is we're missing about half of each word. And so,
I wonder what the hell. Everything seems to be working fine on this end.
yeah, not sure, my friend. So we'll power through it, but we might have to do we'll have to take a look when we get to racers of the week. May have to see if that's something that I'll have to take over because it's a little challenging to hear. Let's see.
Hey,
John, we can hear you fine, Kenny.
I'll give you something I rarely do. I'm working on a piece right now, a painting for Mark Powick, and let's see if I can get some light on it here. And let me show you. Work in progress here, which I rarely do.
Awesome.
Anyway, I don't know if you can see it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, okay. I don't want you to see it too much because it's kind of crummy. That they look bad till they get good.
Yeah, that's great. I remember that arrow, but I actually remember his 68 Roadrunner because when I raced at Thompson in the 70s, he was the big dog at the track, racing in Super Pro.
Yeah, well, actually, this painting it's a large piece, and it's a collage of 5 of his different cars, including that Roadrunner.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
when I get it done, I'll have Kay get back to you, and we can debut it.
Woohoo! I love it. Mark Powell, what a great guy he is.
Yeah, yes.
Super racer and really super nice. So, John, does anyone else have another thought out there, sir?
How do I sound? Am I coming okay?
Fair to middling, unfortunately. I don't know. Maybe it's are you talking to the mic on the headphone?
Yeah, I got a headset here.
Yeah, may take a break and try just the speaker and I mean in the computer. We may
That
have
disconnect now.
okay, let's see how we do live.
And how does this sound?
We can hear every word. So we're gonna have to
Okay.
send John a new headset. Let's take up a collection. I'll
That's
do
cool,
that.
man.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. So what else we got, John? Anybody else from the chat bleachers?
Dale Broderick just said he ran into Kenny at Dead Man's Curve in Jersey last year. And
Yeah, great show.
let's see. Oh, yeah. Ford Purley asked Kenny, in your opinion, what advertisers produced the best designs back then?
Well, so I'd have to think about that. I mean, what corporate sponsors? Oh gosh. Well, the Miller beer cars came out looking really nice, in my opinion, and which the corporate uh, people came up with the initial design for the cars, and here again, designing a race car
Mhm.
is different than designing the graphics on a six pack of beer, and so they had some nice elements, but it was off the mark. And so Larry Miner had me redo the cars. And I basically used the elements that they had and just kind of rearranged and sized and everything. And they also were specing uh, PMS colors, which are the paint colors uh, the printers use. And they're solid colors or flat colors. And they wanted the car to match these colors because it was the colors on their beer cartons, on their labels and stuff. And they didn't understand that you get out the racetrack and appearance wise, you're competing with cars with really beautiful and candy colors and pinstriping and everything on them. And so theirs were pretty plain, but we redid that. Tom Stratton, one of the best painters I ever worked with, we redesigned it. They put candy colors on them, and rolled it out of the trailer at Gainesville, won best appearing car for Ed's Oldsmobile, I believe. But that's a good question. I'd have to think about that because I'm sure there's been a few. That's a good one. You caught me off guard on that one.
The thing I remember most about the advertisers back in the day are the logos. Hearst, MT, Moon equipped, and so forth. These are icons that you never forget. You remember
Right,
as soon as you see them,
right.
and through the years, they've all been there.
Yeah, it's so great to see Jim Dunn out there still running the Moon Ice scheme and the eyeballs there. That's good stuff.
Right. Well, I think we're caught up for the moment on the chat board for the questions and comments. So it's back to you, Kenny and BP.
All right. Well, John, we're running out of callers. It's because we're so old that the younger viewers have no idea who we are. Did we lose John? Bill? Did we lose Bill Pratt?
I'm not hearing BP.
We
right.
did. I'm so sorry. I went to do a cough and then I stayed off. So all
There you
this, all this knowledge I've been sharing is probably the best part of the show. Well, Kenny, let's talk about how your work is actually consumed. So, we've shifted from glossy mags and posters to digital and social media these days. How's that changed how your work is discovered and appreciated?
Well, unfortunately, as you know, I'm not a techie guy. So, but I have a website for my work is monumentsoncanvas.com. And I offer some work on fineartamerica.com. If you search my name, you can go on Fine Art America. And so, of course, the internet, I mean, that opens up the whole world to what you can do, which I have not taken certainly full advantage of and can do a lot more. I get busy working on projects and I'm not a techie guy, so I have not taken full advantage of that, and certainly could because with the internet now and with AI, speaking of AI, I'm seeing some quite a few obviously AI generated uh, artworks and some racing artworks online. And then when I saw the one, I thought, wow, is that hand painted? And I kept looking at it. And no, it's not. So um, I at least that stuff's always going to get better. But right now, the hand painted stuff. But it's really hard to tell anymore what's real and what's not.
It's
But
getting
I haven't
scary.
taken advantage of that, and I certainly could if I got off my ass and worked on that. If I get
Well,
K on those projects.
we'll get Kay going. Yeah, that would, we have a new social media intern joining us as well, but because it's tough, right? I'm up here every single day, and there's still tons of stuff that I want to do. I could redo, drag list itself, the early days of it in the 90s are still up there, but they're like an old front engine. They're like, they're like the first front engine dragster was just a frame rail, right?
Right.
Although, the bug of Dick Craft and all the way up to some pages are, let me say they're in the 90s or, they're more modern looking, but I mean, it's the entire history of the internet in one website. And somebody really needs to take all this and and make it look better. But it's just takes time, and we all have different things to do at our different parts of our lives.
Exactly. And,
But
and go ahead.
well, you mentioned the AI stuff. It's what I've seen recently, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, is they're taking iconic photos that we've all seen and they're animating them, and the damn thing takes off and goes down the strip. And
Right.
they're also AI generating content behind it, voiceovers for this stuff, much of which is either, not entirely true to completely false. So but the thing is, if you don't know, some kid watching this today who's 14. Now, when I was 14, I was looking at Pop Hot Rod or Carcraft, and I would see your work and I would see, John Asher or write about it, and it was legit. You knew what it was. Right now, you don't know, and
You
there's
don't
just a
know.
few of us trying to inject. Our buddy Brett Kepner he's constantly injecting the truth, and sometimes people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
The things they heard was right is not what was actually right,
Yeah.
and it's a funny thing.
And like I said, there's young people weren't familiar. I was asked to be at the diecast show last couple of years as a guest of Carson Lav, and which was a great honor. And they gave us an award and kind of say a few words. And um, I, I I realized that later, after I had spoken, that most of the people in that room had no idea who I was or why I would be up there receiving that award. And I told that to Carson here recently, and he said, "Well, come on back this year. I'll give you the mic, and you can go back, tell them what you should have said." I'd love to do that, because we're back in the olden days, BC, before computers. There was no smartphones. There
Right,
was no Photoshop. There was nothing. Everything was hand drawn.
right.
So
And it was gorgeous. Well, we'll cut you loose here in a moment, but let's look into the future and looking ahead. What projects or ideas are you most excited about right now? And how can fans and collectors keep up with your work? You already mentioned your website, so we want to hear that again. But
yeah,
what's the next
that's a
couple
good
years look
question.
like for Kenny?
Well, I tell you what. Right now, I have a very exciting opportunity that's in the works this year that I can't announce just yet. But if that comes to fruition, which is looking like it is, I will let you know, Bill. And it's going to be a really exciting thing for me, and to be able to get out there and meet a lot of new fans. So I'll let you know on that. It's in the works
Awesome.
here as we speak. And other than that, I've been really busy doing paintings lately, more than ever. And I usually put them up on my Facebook page when I can, but I need to get them up on my Fine Art America page. But we've been doing a lot of the paintings, and I could send you some of the more recent ones. In fact, I have an ad coming out in the Good Guys Gazette
Mm-hmm.
this next month, showing. I did a painting of Dave Kruna's 33 Willys coupe for him. It came out really great, and so we put an ad together with his painting in there, and looking forward to that. But I've got some paintings lined up. Been busier than ever, and still love doing it. Um, and I'll do my best to get some stuff out on, on Facebook and stuff online. But again, I'm a tech dummy.
Well, we'll get that go. Maybe we can find you some help for that. But you do the solid art, and maybe we'll work on some of the help with the distribution.
That'd
But
be great.
well, Kenny Youngblood, always a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks so much for jumping in there at the last minute for us tonight. You know, we had some tech issues, but hey, we're artists. You're an artist, and I'm a hack, and John's a musician. So we're doing the
Yeah,
best we can here, guys.
there we go. Thanks for having me, man. It's always fun. I'm a media hoe, so have me back anytime. And especially if somebody drops out, hey, I'll be your backup. I
Well,
did two shows for Jesse James Monster Garage years ago, and
uh-huh.
his rules was you couldn't be on the show twice, but they had one of the designers back out at the last minute, so
Yeah.
I was on his show twice. So.
So setting another record.
At your
Fantastic.
service, and I love all the fans out there, and I'll be back with you with this announcement where we might be able to be traveling around the country meeting some of those fans. I'll let you know about that.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Youngblood. Blood did it, and he did it for us here tonight. All the best, sir. We'll catch up with you pretty soon. Have a great 2026.
Thanks, John. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Youngblood. Let's say farewell to Kenny. Pardon me. 1 week, guys, with this cold, but we're getting over it. So let me turn it over to JB for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, take it away, sir.
Thanks, BP. It was just great having Kenny on the show. He's the greatest artist of our sport, and it's such an honor to have him with us. And my pick for Racers of the Week tonight are Dale and Lisa Broderick from Clinton, Maryland. Dale is a longtime friend of the Dragless Super Crew, and he and Lisa's Fiat Competition Coupe is a true vintage drag racing machine that runs as good as it looks. Some racers chase trophies, others build community. Dale and Lisa Broderick do both, towing one of the cleanest pieces of nostalgia iron you'll ever see on the East Coast. Their weapon of choice is a supercharged small block Chevy fuel coupe dragster on alcohol. All business, no gimmicks. Dale painted the car himself, and somehow it still looks pristine years later. Candy apple red that turns heads in the lanes and stops conversations in the pits. You don't forget it once you've seen it. The car is basically a dragster chassis with a fiberglass Fiat coupe sitting on it. He uses top-notch equipment, but he said he doesn't use computers or electronics on this hot rod. It's old school from stem to stern. The Brodericks are fixtures at nostalgia events up and down the eastern seaboard. If there's a meet, odds are they're there, early, set up, and welcoming. Kids are always invited into their pit. Questions get answered. Photos get taken. This isn't a velvet rope type operation. It's drag racing in the way it's supposed to be. Their story off the track is just as good. Dale proposed to Lisa on the big screen at Indy, turning a race weekend into a lifelong memory. They've been rolling together ever since, living the roving vagabond life that Candy Apple Fuel Cope in tow. Proof that the best race rigs carry more than tools and parts. They carry a way of life. The Broderick's influence stretches further than their own pit. Their car inspired Doug Wood's freaky tiki, similar layout, different attitude, and famously blue. That's the kind of ripple effect that only comes from doing things right and doing them visibly. Away from the track, Dale's taste shows up in other ways too, including a seriously impressive guitar collection that once filled their home. He has a very precise and beautiful style, and I have appreciated the great pictures he sent to me of his beautifully creative work. When the opportunity comes to share the sport, they take it. One Halloween, Dale brought the car to BP's kids' school and put drag racing right in front of a new generation. That's not marketing, that's stewardship. Dale and Lisa Broderick aren't just racing nostalgia, they're preserving it. One event, one kid, one flawless pass at a time. Racer of the week, and then some. This hot rod is truly one of our favorite cars out there. It's great to see y'all racing this fine piece. We wish Dale and Lisa good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night, and we'll see y'all next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it, sir. And I do want to say, and let me take a couple minutes here just to talk about our incredible team that puts this show on. Because we did have Vito Machola, who wasn't able to make it today, and we're sorry about that, and we'll get him rescheduled. But we went all business and got this thing going. And Miss K started beating the bushes. Pete Mariella started beating the bushes. John whipped up 3 potential posters, depending on which one of the guests we thought we were going to get. And we ended up going with the great Kenny Youngblood. And so, and then we quickly rewrote the script, quickly, got everything put together. And this team just came together and got it done in just in a couple of hours. So a few technical difficulties. I got a little bit of a chest cold. John had a little bit of a head microphone thing, but at the end of the day, and Kenny had, even our guest had a little bit of trouble. At the end of the day, we pull it together to bring it your way. And I really, really want to thank everybody on our team, and even Rob McCabe, while he was doing the drag list, he was giving us a support as we pulled together the show tonight. So thank you to I always say this anyway, but really thank you, John and Kay and Rob and Pete and Moriello. And actually, we had a guest, who James Maher, who said he would come on, and we were able to get Kenny. So even the great guy from Good Vibrations Motorsports was ready to make us have a show tonight. We really appreciate you all. And let me add this. I'm very excited about this. We have a new teammate, folks. I know that I've been talking about this for some time, and last year in July, Facebook stopped allowing folks to put videos and keep videos up on their platform. So we had done Dragless Live on the Facebook Live platform for many hundreds of shows. And they said, they gave us a date, and they said, hey, get them off here or we're deleting them. So we downloaded them all to my PC, and they've been sitting there while we've gone about a year and a half on YouTube. And one of these days, we kept saying we're going to put those things back up on the YouTube channel. Well, that day's coming, because I interviewed a lovely young person named Sophia Roveda this week. Sophia is a marketing intern apprentice. She's learning the ropes, and she's decided to join us to kind of build her resume and to talk about the cool things she's doing. So she's joining the team. Over the weekend, I found all those videos. I shared them with Sophia, and we sat for about an hour today, and we went through one of them, and we edited it, and she figured out that she could edit it. She could, because Facebook put these really funky, like 30-letter, alphanumeric names on each one. So and thanks goodness for John, and thank goodness for Zoom, because all we had to do is pull up the video, she could see the guest name in the bottom right. She could see the date of the show on John's poster, like we can see Dale and Lisa right now at the top. And so she's able to look, she's going to look at each one of the videos, check out the guest name, check out the date, and then save it with a new file name. And then we're going, the second step, once those are all renamed, she's going to upload them all to YouTube. She's going to take John's original poster by searching drag list to find that date and then put them up. And we're going to have all of our shows, at least the ones we had on Facebook, all of them up on our YouTube channel. And this is a 3-month engagement with Sophia. Hopefully, hope she digs us and keeps on rolling, but really want to welcome her to the team. And looking forward, and she's bringing fresh, talking about fresh new ideas, very young. And I'm really looking forward to Sophia and what she can do with the team. So we're all excited to have you aboard, and thanks for joining us. Pardon me. So let's talk about upcoming guests. I am off next week, so we're not going to have a show next Monday night. I do have a business dinner. So we're back on February 23rd with the great Animal Jim Foyer. I talked to Animal Jim the other night. He is super excited about coming on. And of course, one of the greatest pro mod racers in the history of the sport. He is a 6-time champion in many different organizations. And he's just tops. One of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet, and one of the toughest competitors ever. So Ford fans, Mercury fans, and just door slammer fans, get ready. Animal Jim Foyer, one of the original pro mod superstars, is going to be joining us on February 23rd. Moving on, folks, let's go to those we lost. I do have well, they're always important to remember these lost racers, but some big names, of course, this week. And I'll ask John probably to jump in and help me with some of them. On the 2nd of February, we lost Rock Running. Superstock fans, Oldsmobile fans will recognize this name. He had a series of cars called the Super Sleepers, always tough, super nice guy that helped a lot of other racers. On the 3rd of February, of course, everybody in the sports heard about this, but we lost Ed Iskandarian, the great man. Born July 10th, 1921, passed away February 3rd, 2026. A beloved hot rod pioneer, entrepreneur, mentor, industry legend, just a towering figure in American automotive culture. Everybody called him the Cam Father, but he passed away peacefully at the age of 104 after a life that just irrevocably shaped hot rodding, drag racing, and the performance aftermarket. And I know John did a really nice tribute to Iski poster this week. John, some thoughts about Iski?
Of all the shows that we've done over the last several years, the one that we did with Ed Iskandarian just really stands out in my memory because what he did was he took us through the history of drag racing from day one up until the current times, and he did it all inside of 1 hour. But I was absolutely spellbound by Ed Iskandarian. It's hard to find the words to describe how deeply his story affected me because I've read all the books and magazines and I've been to the events and everything, but nothing compares to what Eddie Iskandarian told us that night. And we've had some fantastic guests on this show, and I loved them all. And they've given us great interviews. But Ed Iskandarian was a walking history of our sport, and there will be no replacing him. It's just I'm looking forward to when Sophia can bring up that interview, and we'll save it because I guarantee I'll go back and watch it and listen to it regularly.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, I'm very excited. I had that thought exactly. When she and I were looking last night, we picked up Mousy Brown, we picked up Shirley Muldowney, and there's so much history that's available to us, and we're gonna bring it up. We're gonna put it on YouTube. I don't want to go on and on about that. Let's keep it about Eski, but and that's on me. But Iski, what a great guy. I think we had him in 2013. Is that what you said, John, when you were taking a peek?
Yeah,
I
it was
think
2013,
so.
October.
He's a sprightly 92 at the time, and just a wonderful interview. So, just bless his heart. I'm so glad to know him. I was so proud to know him, and just everybody in the sport just loved him. Let's go on to on the 5th. We lost Tak Shigematsu, a very respected Japanese nitro Harley rider. And thanks to Rob McCabe for letting us know this. He was known for his fearless riding style, deep passion for drag racing, and unmistakable personality at the track. They called him Tak. And he was a larger than life presence in the Japanese motor racing scene and here in the States. So farewell to you, Tak. On the 6th, we lost Fred Hurst of Dayton, Ohio. Now, Fred had those gorgeous candy apple red injected gassers that led the way in performance and beauty. From his Willys to his Plymouth Cuda to his Opel GT, Fred Hurst always was a thrill to watch race and another towering figure, helped so many sportsmen. Farewell to Fred Hurst. And then finally, last but not least, Sean Panutti, super stock racer, also known as the Poor Boy series of cars. Very well regarded, very well loved. So, our condolences, of course, to the family and friends and many, many fans of all these great racers. And thanks for the thrills over the years, guys. But really proud to remember you here tonight. With that, John, I'll turn it over to you for a final thought.
This was a wonderful night and a wonderful day. You know, it's like teamwork. We put this whole thing together at the last minute, and it worked out great. And I'm just really glad that Kenny Youngblood was available and willing to participate with us tonight. He's a great guy, and as I said before, I see him as the greatest artist in our sport, and I can't see anything that can top what Kenny's done. He's just an amazing guy, and I'm looking forward to having Animal Jim with us in a couple of weeks. You know, I've been friends with AJ since 2009 when
Hmm.
I was approached to make a graphic for his 40 years in the sport, and I've updated it a couple of times since then. You know, so looking forward to having AJ back with us.
Oh, it's so great. Yeah, Animal Jim, just to let you know, he and Wally Bell were match racing their pro mods at Budds Creek. And they were the first two professional racers that I told. And I said, this booklet, this drag racing list I've been doing, I'm going to put this on this thing called the internet. And Animal Jim and Wally Bell were there. Of course, our late friend Wally, who you also did poster art for. And we still love his wife, Beverly. But they were both there at the very, very beginning. And
That's funny.
so,
I can't get
yes.
off the internet, and when I do, I don't know what the hell to do with myself. But
It's it's
yeah,
ridiculous, guys. 30 years of drag list, guys, really, on online. 40 years if you count the booklet, but 30 years online. I don't know where the time went. We've had so much fun. Well, let's go ahead and do a wrap, folks. So thanks to Kenny Youngblood for coming on. Thanks so much. Also, thanks to James Maher, who was ready to step up. And of course, Kay's like Pete Mariello got him for us and made a phone call and convinced him because James is sort of shy, but he was going to do it for Pete. And I hope that we can still get him. Of course, thanks, John Bachman, my brother, Kay, Pete Mariello, Rob McCabe, David Oakes, Mel Bashore, Ron Toombs, John Mernon, who's been putting up great photos for us. Thanks to all of our wonderful volunteer, outstanding photographers who are so kindly letting us use their work. Thanks to Dave Weslowski, our new guy who's been doing, of course, he's not new, but he's new to us, been putting up some amazing IHRA national event stuff from back in the day. And Jeff Gilder, who got us our start back in 2010. Thank you, sir. Of course, thanks in heaven to the man himself, Danny White. Please share, like, and subscribe to the channel. We got 600 people now. We really want to go higher. And actually, I was talking with Nitro Alley this week, and I said, we need to team up. And I do want to thank Nitro Alley. She told her Facebook fans they really should follow Drag List. And oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys have seen our drag list fan page, but we got about 1,800 new members, all thanks to Nitro Alley. So thank you. We need to team up and take these YouTube channels to the next level. And with our friend Sophia coming aboard, I'm confident we can do it. And of course, Kay and John and everybody else. Let's go ahead and say farewell, though. Check it on dragless.com every day to see what's new. We got some cool stuff up there. Check us out on the Radio Bob Network. And finally, let's get out of here to get some hot tea, maybe a little whiskey. And we'll see you on February 23rd for Animal Jim Foyer, the superstar. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.